From NBC, Trump and leaders of Canada and Mexico say tariffs will be delayed 1 month after talks. Guys, I love Donald Trump. He has exceeded all of my expectations. This is absolutely incredible. When he announced the tariffs, I started clapping and cheering because I can't stand that we have given away so many of our jobs and our industries to Canada and Mexico to the point where it was like 80% of their exports are coming to us. Okay, well, what about our jobs and the people who work here who need to have a job, teach their kids how to have jobs, do hard work? We're not just going to become a bunch of gluttonous, lazy, partying, oh, wait, because we're giving away all our jobs to these other countries. But it's win-win because it was going to go one of two ways. They were going to beg Donald Trump for whatever they could possibly give him so that he would lift these because this will destroy the economies of Canada and Mexico. And then Trump said, okay, I want troops on the border. So Canada, I think they're going to be doing like a fentanyl czar of some sort. They're going to be enforcing border protections. Mexico is sending additional 10,000 troops to the border. And there's been other concessions. So Donald Trump just waves the pen. And instantly, Canada and Mexico are like, okay, we'll take this problem that you're having seriously now. Masterfully done. There's a whole bunch of other stuff to get into, of course, with like Elon Musk, Doge, and USAID. But we'll start here. Man, how you guys doing?
You know, the people have been like wigging out about the whole situation with Canada and with Mexico as if this wasn't the big ask, as if this wasn't a negotiation. It was just like, oh, Donald Trump's going to put these tariffs on and they're going to be there forever and they're going to be there until the whole country falls apart and until everything, burns up. They're acting as if this wasn't intended on getting a deal out of both Canada and Mexico. That's Donald Trump's MO. Mm-hmm. And we had 4 years of him as a president already doing things like this. But yet the left is in such disarray now. They refuse to look at reality, I guess. I mean, they were harping on eggs for like the first week and a half of his presidency. They've lost any semblance of direction. And I don't have it in front of me, but there was I think it was a Wall Street Journal article about how totally in disarray the Democrats are. And so it's almost as if it's worth nothing to listen to anything they say just because they have no idea what to say. All they're saying is whatever they're back to the whatever Donald Trump decides he's going to do, we're against it. He could be it's as bad as Donald Trump says drink water is good, so we're going to try to drink sand.
They can't give him one good day.
No, God, no.
No, and because it's not about that. It's always about power with the Dems. They don't really care. He could actually save the economy and give everyone a horse. Everyone could make $1 million and everyone be prosperous, and they'd still find something to attack him on. They'd call him a racist. And the thing is that's really been killing me is they're losing and they're not changing their strategy. Right. What Donald Trump just taught the American people, by the way, was that America has leverage over all these other nations. We don't need to be the punching bag. We don't have to accept things the way they are. We have 325 million Americans that buy products from everywhere else in the world. Let's leverage that. I saw a video this morning. 40% of the Canadian economy is based on their exports to the United States.
Whoa.
That is huge leverage, right? And I didn't realize that. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking, Trudeau was running his mouth for way too damn long.
Yeah.
So much tough talk, right?
Oh my gosh.
My favorite thing about tariffs is that no one gets to vote on them. Hate voting. Hate democracy.
The Democrats' unfavorable now is 57% with the most recent Quinnipiac University poll. I don't know that there's anything that they can do to fix this until they get their own house in order. We might talk about it later, but there was they voted on who was going to run the DNC, and they were doing things like land acknowledgments. They were doing things like
Let them cook, bro.
talking about pronouns and stuff, things that clearly, regardless, I know there are people out there that are going to say, well, Donald Trump won on the economy and he won on illegal immigration. I think that's true, largely. But I think the thing that turns the average person off about the Democrats, right, the things that they're just like, I don't like that stuff, is the whole woke stuff, the whole, trans stuff, the LGBT stuff, the fact that you have to hate America, which, whether they want to admit it or not, when they're doing things like land acknowledgement, you're saying that you're ashamed of the country that you're in. No society in human history has ever given credit to the society that came before them, that they essentially conquered.
Oh, you're talking about like mud flood in Tartaria, right?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
The indigenous people, they have land acknowledgement to the Tartaria. You don't know about mud flood theory?
No,
You guys know mud flood?
No.
There's a conspiracy theory that there was a great civilization that ran Earth or whatever, and then there was a great mud flood, and it buried all the buildings. And people actually believe this. And they think that we're discovering these old buildings and pulling them out of the dirt and living in them. Yeah. Anyway, so I made a joke tweet about how we're going to conquer Canada because I saw all of these Canadians really angry on X. And so I tweeted something like, after we destroy the Canadian economy, their will to resist will erode, and we will march in and put Canada in its rightful place as a, what did I call it? As a territory of the United States with no political representation. Yeah, I got so many death threats from that.
Is that why the one?
Yeah. So
Canadians?
From Canadians.
But they're supposed to be so nice.
What kind of Canadians?
Yeah, that's
Well, so we got a bunch of death threats, and then I posted one of the threats that was the most egregious, and it got like 2 million hits or whatever. Yeah. And the guy said he was, among other things, I'm not gonna. It's very vulgar. He was going to do horrible things to my family and sell them to rabbit Indians. And rabbit, yes, like rabbits.
Does he mean like what kind of Indian?
I don't know.
Rabbit kinds.
The
Otter
rabbit.
feather.
And so people started posting pictures of rabbits wearing headdresses, and then rabbit Indian started trending on X.
Yeah, Grok was busy making pictures of rabbits with Indian headdresses or rabbits in India, like India from the country. You know,
That's kind of
This is the thing. Like we've talked quite about how Democrats don't understand humor. That's why The Onion sucks now.
yeah.
And I'm like, Canadians are just like Democrats. They genuinely thought my tweet about us conquering Canada through
legit.
They think it's real, and they're angry about it. Like to the point where we're getting a bunch of death threats from these people, and like we have to take it seriously.
Yeah, you have to. You have, because they're all unhinged. The type of person that's that unhinged that would send a death threat is exactly the type of person that would go crazy and do stuff like that.
Look, it's a bad idea to make death threats. It's a bad idea to do that kind of stuff on the internet.com. Like,
They know who you are. They can
know?
find you, and that's forever.
yeah.
So they're losing right now, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, they're losing their mind.
We're all like in a really good mood, right?
I'm in a good mood.
I'm in a great mood. You know what really bugs me is I tweeted the what did I say? Like the era of the extraction of America is finally over. No country that can only, or what I forgot how I phrased it, but any country that requires U.S. subsidy in order to survive shouldn't, and this means any and every country. The idea that you said 40% of their economy is based off exports to the United States, that ain't our problem. If they want to be a vassal state, okay, and they want to be subservient and then live off our good graces, fine. But the idea that we would, for Canada and Mexico, forego our own manufacturing base, and not necessarily manufacturing, but any industry. I know there's some things Canada does we can't. They got tar sands. I know Mexico makes avocados. We don't make nearly as many. That's fine. I don't think 40% of the Mexican economy is avocados. What happens is we send our auto plants to Mexico and say, you do the work and we'll buy the car from you. That only works for like 20 years, you get fat profits, but then the next generation has no jobs. So they make no money, and there's no economic access, and then your country implodes. So it's time to put a stop to this. Now, I like what Trump did. The tariffs are going to be a pause for a month because he's basically saying, we'll see if you follow through.
Well, but the real reason why he's doing this is not economic. It's because with Trudeau's lax immigration policies and his virtue signaling, what's been happening is Canada is actually the bigger threat to the United States when it comes to unsecure border. There were, in that video I saw this morning, they said that there were 150 encounters and arrests of terrorists at the southern border, but there were over 350 of these arrests at the northern border with Canada. And that's because Trudeau is out there signaling, saying he's not going to do anything to stop this illegal immigration. So the guys that really want to attack America, they've been going through Canada to get to the United States because it's actually less treacherous and they're more welcome there.
Yep. Well, it's time to put a stop to it.
I mean, look, anything that needs to be done, or the government, the federal government and ICE and Homeland Security should go to any lengths to stop illegal immigration coming into the United States. Doesn't matter if they're coming from Mexico or if they're coming from Canada. If we have to build a frost wall along the northern border, that's fine with me too. We can have the hot wall and the cold wall. I'm fine with it. It's perfectly fine to build walls. I don't care, especially if these other countries, our neighbors, are facilitating or allowing for foreign nationals to come into the United States without putting, legitimate effort into preventing them from coming here, when these people are intending to do damage to our country and hurt American citizens.
You're saying we need a Castle Black.
What's a Castle Black?
Game of Thrones.
Guess.
The fort where they had the big wall on the north of ice to keep the White Walkers out?
Yes. Give me a frost wall to keep the frost backs out.
Is it offensive to call Canadians White Walkers?
I don't know.
Never heard that one before.
Yeah.
Probably. We should
They come
say
from
it.
Everything's offensive,
cold.
so let's just err on doing it. Let's just call them White Walkers.
Everything is offensive, especially to people that are upset about the whole situation with immigration. If they're upset about the immigration situation, anything you say to them is going to set them off. You can say, we want you to stay in Canada, and they're going to call you all kinds of names.
Isn't it funny that Democrats are all basically admitting that they illegally hire illegal immigrants? Mm-hmm. They're like, but if you deport these people, then who's going to pick your crops and clean your toilets? And it's just like, Americans. Next question.
Well, it's a red herring. They don't pick our crops. It's like literally 90% of all the illegals that are here are in major cities. They're not out there farming. They're not making sure our crops don't go bad. They're in major cities taking jobs from Americans.
But I have an answer to that when they say, like, if you deport all these people, who's going to pick our crops? I'm like, well, there's a bunch of FBI agents, U.S. attorneys, and DEI coaches who are looking for work.
That's right.
So, job openings available.
Yeah. I mean,
but it's all just it's BS. But I just think it's funny that Democrats are like basically saying we do this.
But Tim, the more important thing though that I'm seeing and that I'm loving is there is this IDGAF mentality amongst everyone in the White House. They don't care what the media says to them. Stephen Miller just
awesome.
Last week he lectured Jake Tapper. On live. It's these guys don't care. They were beaten up and bruised. And here's the other thing. Trump and his entire team had 4 years to look back at their first term, what went wrong, what went right, and to really plot and plan. Meanwhile, they were trying to destroy this entire apparatus that they built. It's beautiful. Not a lot of two-term presidents get 4 years to look back at their first term and assess what they did right and wrong. And that's why I think we're seeing such a big change.
Literally only one other.
That's right.
What do you think that he got wrong the first time?
I think he thought it was going to be a traditional American presidency where there's the play fighting, but at the end of the day, you're going to get an infrastructure bill done. You're going to, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, they're going to fight you like they fought George W. Bush, but it's not serious. They're not actually going to try and put you in prison. They're not actually going to try and kill you and do all this stuff. But they were serious. This was about power for them.
He thought that they were going to treat him as a member of the club because he got elected. So the way that the government behaves is there are certain people that are acceptable to be president, and then there are people that are not. I think every single person that's been a president has either been in government somehow before, or they were a general. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's been anyone else that came directly from corporate America, with a business background. And so they essentially treated him as if he was not a member of the club. And they treated him like that from day one, actually before, because they were spying on him. The FBI, I'm not sure I think it was the FBI that had tapped his tapped Trump Tower. So they treated him as if he was hostile to the country from day one, because they were never going to let him in. The goal was to keep him out. And you could see that with the FBI, with people like Peter Strzok. We're saying, don't worry, we're going to prevent this from happening. We won't let it happen. I forget the woman that he was having an affair with that he was texting, but the FBI had aligned against him. You had everyone basically in government was working against him. So his biggest mistake was believing that they were going to allow him in, and believing that hiring people that were clearly, for lack of a better word, swamp monsters, for lack of a better word, those people would listen to him as opposed to work against him. And then the 4 years, that he was kind of off in the wilderness, that's where he really had the ability to look back on his presidency, see what they were doing. Obviously, he had to deal with what they were doing. They were trying to, they impeached him after he'd left office, which is unprecedented. Twice they impeached him after he left office. They tried to use lawfare on him. They tried to throw him in jail. They created felonies out of misdemeanors. They said, oh, these were felonious actions when there was no underlying crime to actually elevate them to felonies. So he saw what the deep state and what the bureaucracy, what the government itself wanted to do to him. And he was like, okay, well, how do I stop this if I win again or when I win again? And he obviously knew that if he didn't win again, he was going to go to jail. And there's a lot of other people that would end up in jail too. I honestly, truly believe that people like Tim, people like and other pundits and other people that are involved in the political space, they would either end up in jail or they would be run out of the business.
Yeah, they would have Nixoned and resigned.
Yeah,
right. And I think Trump, to his credit, he learned from the Nixon coup, let's call it that, because that's essentially what it was. But he learned from that and he didn't back away and he stuck with it and he fought him even more, violently than he did before.
Yeah.
I just want to say before we move on to the next story, to all of our Canadian viewers, I know that most of you don't like your own government and don't agree with the way they're running things, and you want Canada first too, and I respect that. So hopefully the future we get to is a stronger Canada for Canadians with a government that the people actually need and support. And the United States has much of the same thing. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.